New hot and iced Sunrise Batch Coffee from Dunkin'. A bright and balanced, full-bodied blend brewed so you can get summering from sunrise to sunset. And even after that, because that's when you can show off those string lights you hung in the backyard. Or rehung. Enjoy a medium, hotter iced Sunrise Batch Coffee for $2. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
Been thinking about McDonald's all day. Can't get it off my mind. I can already taste it. Ooh, got my mind on my mouth and my mouth ready for some Mickey D's deal.
There's a deal for every moment at McDonald's.
Right now, get 2 of your favorites for just $3.50. Mix and match a classic McChicken, a hot and spicy McChicken, or a juicy McDouble. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, I am sharing my minimalist book nerd journey. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on today's topic. You can always find me on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. Join me on Patreon for exclusive Shelf Addiction content, including video, podcast, and after shows, special features, and more. So if you're interested in that, you'll need to hop on over to Patreon and sign up today. Let's jump into today's topic. Hey guys, I'm back with a solo episode for you today. I decided to do a couple of episodes focused on being a minimalist book nerd. It's all about being a minimalist while having a shelf addiction. Yes, I do think you can give the minimalist treatment to your bookshelves and your book collection and still be satisfied and happy with the books that you own. So first, I'd like to say that I decided to make this type of episode because I wanted to share my point of view and my experience and my journey. I thought that maybe someone that listens to the podcast may want to hear it. Maybe someone could get something out of it. And of course, I'm not saying that this is the way it should be for everyone. But again, I think there are readers that can get something out of it. On the flip side, if you are a hardcore book collector and you love all the books and you have no desire to change anything, do you, boo? It's cool. You know, I'd never tell you to do otherwise. You have to do what makes you feel comfortable. And this is always a judgment-free zone. So let me tell you a little history on my journey with minimalism and why I think that applying some of these beliefs about things to books can be freeing. I was never a hoarder. I've always liked nice things, but I've never been a collector of nice things. So this reset has kind of been a long time coming. And I think ultimately the way I think about things inherently is a product of my upbringing. Now, even to this day, and it's always kind of been a thing. Like, I know exactly where everything is in my office. You ask me where something is, I can go and put my hand on it right away. It's in the same spot. It has its place. Everything has its place. And I think that applies to books and everything else. So for example, I'll give you one more example. So I've always kind of been, if I buy something, I'll throw something away. And a perfect explanation of that is my Christmas bins for Christmas decor. You know, a lot of people go all out for Christmas, and I do too. I do my style of Christmas. It looks gorgeous. It photographs nice. I love it when family comes and it feels all homey and looks pretty and it's sparkly and it's, you know, cozy. But I'll never be that house that threw up Christmas, and I'm cool with that. It will just never be me. You'll never come into my home and see a gazillion tchotchkes all over shelves and mantles, and yeah, you're not going to find that. My style is a lot more clean and modern, but that's how I do my things as well. So back to the Christmas example, I have literally 2 huge bins for Christmas, and I think they're huge. Some people may think they're average size, but I have 2, and I have 2 Christmas trees. I have a Christmas tree for 2 different rooms, and I have 2 bins and 1 ornament box. If it can't fit in there, if I buy something new and it can't fit in there, something old has to be thrown away or I'm not getting it. I'm not going to be that person that has 15 boxes of Christmas stuff, 10 boxes of Christmas stuff. I can't do it. Okay. I can't do it. And so I think it's always kind of been in my nature because of how, I was raised. Like, there's always been like a lot of stuff in my childhood home. I have 2 sisters that also grew up in that childhood home. Then after that, a few nieces and nephews grew up in that same childhood home. And, as people live there for long periods of time, things just accumulate. All kind of things. So for me, I think I've always just wanted my space to be my space, and it looked like my space, and it feel like my space. And, like I said, I know where everything is. So minimalism, I think, came more naturally than it would have if I hadn't already had some of these feelings about clutter and about having a lot of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I love books. You guys know that. But over the last couple of years, I found that I've been more and more discontent with the amount of books that I have. They're in my office on the shelves, on the floor next to the shelves because they won't fit on the shelves. They're in my basements. There are stacks of books on a counter. There are boxes of books underneath the counter. It's just all become too much. And it's from years of accepting books from publishers and authors, going to book conferences and events. It just starts to pile up. And when you accept these books, or when I accept the books, I full on plan to read them. I expected to read them. But if I'm being real honest, I might have read a quarter of the books that I have. And I'll tell you later, or maybe even on a different episode, what I do with these books after I box them all up and prepared them to leave the house. But I had the best intentions when I accepted these books when I was given these books. Man, it almost borderline causes me anxiety to see it all. I think also a component of that is I used to always look at Bookstagram feeds, the book community on Instagram. And I was always wishing, like, wow, I wish I had massive wall of floor to ceiling bookshelves. Oh, I wish I was getting book mail every single day, like some people you see on Bookstagram. But now that's kind of a hard no for me. I'm not against the floor to ceiling bookshelves. I think they would look pretty, but they won't be full. Like right now, my bookshelves, I have a good amount of bookshelves and they come about halfway up the wall and I like them. They fill the room. I really don't need an entire wall of books. So I'm satisfied with what I have now. I never also will, again, feel that need to buy books based on what I've seen on social media. I think I've fully worked out of that. I can scroll a Bookstagram feed and see, 30 new books, 50 new books in any one sitting. And if something, catches my eye, I'll look it up on Goodreads and I'll add it to my TBR list if it looks really good. But does that mean I'm going to go out and buy it? No, absolutely not. No, I'm done keeping up with the Joneses on Instagram and BookTok and all those places. I'm not doing that anymore. So what I ended up doing when I came to this conclusion that I was kind of over it, I'm done with all the books, kind of just stacked around my house. I'm done with being envious of seeing all these people get tons of books all the time. It's, like I said, honestly, I'm not going to read half of them. Just stop, right? I literally boxed up boxes and boxes of books. And like I said, I haven't read a whole lot of those. The ones that I read and loved are actually sitting on my shelves. All these other books, I've never read them. I don't plan to read them. And some of the books that I am giving away that I have read, I have no plans to reread them. They might have been okay to me, but they're not good enough to take up space on my precious shelf. A few years ago, I read Marie Kondo's book, and, I think it was The Art of Tidying Up, I think was the name. I might be saying that wrong, but I did review it here on the podcast. And while her philosophy on books was very extreme to me, I didn't follow that advice, but I actually started folding my clothes like her. Go figure. But I got some good stuff from her book. Not the advice on books, but a lot of other things. And that made me think about ways to incorporate that into my books. In the last year or so, I've been listening to the podcast, The Minimalist. That podcast is hosted by authors and filmmakers and public speakers, Joshua Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus, and they actually have a Netflix documentary. I can't remember the name of it right now, but if you search either of their names, I think they have 2 on Netflix. I watched the newest one. But one of their episodes, they had a question from a reader that collects books, and they pretty much said, if you love it, then fine, keep your books. Don't throw out your books if you love them. And they proceeded to kind of get more in depth with that about how you can keep your books and not have an outrageous library, and how to keep that in moderation. But by no means do you throw out all of your books if those make you happy. So from that, I derived I can have my beautiful set of shelves and look at them and feel happy and have them be, pretty and filled and feel okay with it and not feel like I need more and more and more. So ultimately, why, right? I told you my history, but really when it comes down to it, it's all about a clean space equaling a clear mind for me. It's not a money thing. And you know what? Yes, you can think of this as a way to budget and save money. If you are a compulsive book buyer and you want to save some cash, this definitely could assist you with that. But for me, it's more about clearing the space, reducing the clutter. You can employ mindful spending with books if you are looking to save money as well. That's another conversation for another day, but definitely look into mindful spending if that is what you're looking to do. But alongside with reducing clutter comes a clearer mind. Have you ever walked into a clean space, like a newly clean space, like maybe your office or your bedroom, and then suddenly, you want to spend more time in there. You feel good being in there after it's been cleaned and organized. I love that feeling. Like for me, I work a day job, and of course I do podcasting and stuff in the evenings. So I spend a lot of time in my office space, and it's important that I feel comfortable in here. This is my room. It's my sanctuary. So when it starts to get cluttered, I start to feel like I don't want to be in there. Like it's too much going on in there. I don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to take my computer into another room today. That ends up happening. But I can't record in another room. This space is ideal for recording, so I have to deal with it. So instead of just trying to avoid it, let's just declutter, right? That's the why, the history, the why. And let's talk about now what, right? Now what? So now that I'm not buying a ton of physical books, how do I get my fix, right? So in the past year and a half, since the pandemic, really, I haven't really purchased any physical books. I bought one set of books, and technically I didn't buy them. I won them on a gift card, and I bought a set of books that I really, really loved, and I know I will read again. So I wanted those gorgeous books for my shelf, so I did spend the gift card on those. But that is it. One set of books purchased in the last 15 or 16 months. How do I get my fix nowadays? It's all about a few digital services that I love and the library. Both of those things are my favorite things, and I've talked about them in a previous chat with Casey on a different episode. Use your library, guys. Go up in there, peruse the books, touch them, feel them, smell them if you want. You can borrow it. So when you're feeling that urge to hold a physical book, borrow it and return it. I also use their ebook services. So now I read an ebook on my Kindle or on my tablet. I also download audiobooks on my phone or my tablet. I also subscribe to Audible and Scribd, and I purchased from Kindle. So like I said, my efforts are not about money saving per se. So yes, I do have 2 monthly subscriptions, and I do get some things from the Kindle store. But both of those, or all 3 of those, I should say, are secondary to my library. So if my library has it, I will get it from them. And if there's a tremendously long wait, then I will buy it or use one of my subscription services to read or listen to whatever I like. So that's how I get my fix now. And again, I will buy more books. I'm not saying I'll never buy another book, but what I am saying is I am very critical when I choose what book I'm going to buy. I highly doubt I'll just purchase books that are new to me by authors that are new to me. Like, I can guarantee, like the Mercy Thompson series, you guys, if you listen to this podcast at all, you know that I adore that series. And I will keep buying those books because I love them so much. I'm never disappointed. I keep on loving it every time. So I will continue to buy those books. And I'm okay with that because there's space for them. I may also buy in the future other series that I fall in love with and want to read again and again, or that I think are so gorgeous and I love the content and I want to share that with other people that might go into my library. But never will you see me saying, oh, this new author has a new book, let me run out and buy it. No, I will not. No, I will not. Or an author that's been hit or miss for me, I will not go out and buy their book either. I'm going to be very critical about what I add to these shelves because, again, I don't want a lot of it. If I fill the shelves that I have, that is fine. If I have space open and remaining on these shelves for future things, I love that even more. So with this new way of doing things, it's a new world for me. And for me, that looks a little different as a social media driven book nerd. I'm definitely not going to be sharing a lot of photos on Instagram with stacks of books and hauls. Yeah, that's a wrap. That's done. Same with Book Talk. I'm not going to be posting that kind of book haul-y kind of content because I don't haul books. I mean, I have it for a long time. So my content looks very different from other traditional bookstagrammers and book talkers. Like, I'm not doing the fancy layouts. Instead, I'm doing more ebooks and audiobook picks. I'm doing more podcast snippets. I'm doing more best of and favorites and recommendations. And that may also be on an ebook or audiobook. I just am not going to be about that life. And because I do not, you guys know I'm not a clutterer from this conversation. So I'm definitely not one of those Instagram pages where you're going to have a million props in a photo. It's gorgeous to look at, but no, I don't want that stuff in my house. No, thank you. It's just stuff that you're going to have to give away to the Goodwill anyway. But okay, I digress. So that is how I'm doing it. That is the history, the why, the what now, what is it going to look like going forward. And I would love to hear your position on this subject. You know, join me on Shelf Addiction Official and we can start that conversation today. Okay. Now, I will have another podcast probably sometime next month where I explain my decluttering process. And I'll also be sharing with you what I do with those books once I box them up. You know, where do you take those books? How do you discard those books without throwing them in the trash? Because I also am not a fan of throwing things in the trash. And I will continue that in that episode. If you are listening to the sound of my voice right now, I appreciate you for listening to the entire episode. Until next time, take care of yourselves and happy reading. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.
Been thinking about McDonald's all day. Can't get it off my mind. I can already taste it. Ooh, got my mind on my mouth and my mouth ready for some Mickey D's deal.
There's a deal for every moment at McDonald's.
Right now, get 2 of your favorites for just $3.50. Mix and match a classic McChicken, a hot and spicy McChicken, or a juicy McDouble. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with combo meal, single item at regular price.
Enjoy!
Thanks.
Order breakfast at the McDonald's drive-thru. Tell yourself you'll wait to eat it at work, but it smells way too good. So you eat it right there in the McDonald's parking lot meal. There's a meal for every morning at McDonald's.
Right now, get any size iced coffee for 99 cents until 11 a.m. and pair it with your favorite breakfast sandwich or one of our tasty bakery treats. Price and participation may vary.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. McDonald's. I'm loving it.